We are exploring the history, the composition, the minting process, and the specific rarities that can turn ordinary pocket change into a serious numismatic treasure. Whether you are a seasoned coin collector or a curious beginner who just found an old dime in a jar, this comprehensive guide will walk you through everything you need to know about collecting Roosevelt dimes, with a particular focus on the elusive varieties and condition rarities that capture the attention of high-end auction houses. To understand the Roosevelt dime, we first have to travel back to 1946. Following the sudden death of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt in April 1945, the United States Mint moved quickly to honor the late president, who had led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II, and who had personally suffered from polio, leading to his founding of the March of Dimes. Chief engraver John R. Sinek was tasked with designing the new coin. His initials JS appear on the truncation of Roosevelt's neck near the rim, and while these initials sparked a minor conspiracy theory at the time claiming they stood for Joseph Stalin, they were simply the artist's signature. The design featured a dignified portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse, and a torch symbolizing liberty, an olive branch symbolizing peace, and an oak branch symbolizing strength on the reverse. When the coin made its debut on January 31, 1946, it immediately replaced the winged Liberty head dime, commonly known as the Mercury dime, which had been in circulation since 1916. The public reception was overwhelmingly positive, and the coin has remained a staple of American commerce ever since. But beyond its familiar design lies a rich history of metallic composition shifts, mint mark locations, and striking anomalies that create massive value discrepancies. Let us begin with the metallic composition of the Roosevelt dime, because this is the primary divider between face value and intrinsic precious metal value. From its introduction in 1946 through 1964, Roosevelt dimes were struck in a composition consisting of 90% silver and 10% copper. Each of these silver dimes contains 0.0723 ounces of pure silver. During the early decades of the series, millions upon millions of these silver coins poured out of the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Because they were struck in such enormous quantities, common date circulated silver Roosevelt dimes in worn condition generally trade close to their melt value or a modest collector premium. However, the moment you step into uncirculated grades with pristine mint luster, the game changes entirely. The year 1965 marked a monumental turning point for United States coinage. Due to a nationwide coin shortage and soaring global silver prices, the Coinage Act of 1965 was passed, authorizing the elimination of silver from dimes and quarters. Starting in mid-1965, the mint transitioned to a clad composition featuring an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This clad composition has continued to the present day. This transition period is precisely where some of the most famous errors and transitional varieties in modern numismatics occur. For instance, during the transition in 1965, experimental planchets or leftover silver blanks from 1964 occasionally slipped into the coin presses. Finding a 1965 Roosevelt dime struck on a silver planchet rather than the standard copper nickel-clad planchet is an incredible discovery. These rare transitional errors command thousands of dollars at specialized auctions because they represent a mechanical collision between two distinct eras of coinage production. Beyond transitional errors, collectors also scrutinize the mint marks on Roosevelt dimes. For the first nearly 2 decades of the series, silver dimes minted in Denver featured a small D on the reverse to the left of the base of the torch. Dimes minted in San Francisco featured an S in the same location. Dimes minted in Philadelphia bore no mint mark at all during this era. In 1968, the mint mark was moved from the reverse to the obverse side of the coin, located just above the date to the right of Roosevelt's portrait. Furthermore, beginning in 1968, proof coins intended exclusively for collectors were once again struck at the San Francisco Mint, bearing the S mint mark, a tradition that continues today alongside modern silver proof issues. When evaluating the potential value of a Roosevelt dime, the most critical factors are condition, grade, and strike quality. In the numismatic community, coins are graded on the Sheldon scale, which runs from 1 to 70. A coin in heavily circulated grade might be graded good 4 or very fine 20, showing heavy wear and smoothing of the design details. As we move up the scale into about uncirculated 50 and mint state 60, the coin retains all of its original factory luster with no trace of wear. At the absolute pinnacle of the scale are coins graded mint state 67, 68, or 69, which exhibit flawless surfaces, striking perfection, and exceptional eye appeal. For modern-clad and late-date silver, Roosevelt dimes condition is everything because common dates exist in the tens of millions in circulated bins. If a coin is heavily circulated, it may only be worth its base metal value. But if that same coin has been preserved in a pristine uncirculated state free from bag mark scratches and toning blemishes, it can be certified by a third-party grading service like Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company and sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Collectors specifically look for full bands designations on silver Roosevelt dimes. To achieve a full bands designation, the horizontal bands crossing the central torch on the reverse must show complete separation and full structural detail with no weakness in the strike. Coins meeting this strict standard command massive premiums because a fully struck Roosevelt dime is surprisingly difficult to find due to the intricate nature of the die pressure required. Another fascinating category of high-value Roosevelt dimes involves mint errors and die varieties. Mint errors occur during the actual production process at the mint. These can include double strikes where the coin was struck multiple times by the die's off-center strikes where the planchet was not properly aligned in the collar, broad strikes where the coin was struck outside the retaining collar resulting in a wider flat edge, retained cuds where a piece of the die broke off leaving a blank raised area on the coin, and clipped planchets where the metal strip was misfed into the blanking press. Each of these errors creates a unique one-of-a-kind artifact that collectors actively hunt for. Consider the famous double die obverse or reverse varieties. A double die error happens when the hub makes multiple impressions on the working die, creating a doubled image on the coin itself. While minor doubling is common and often just mechanical doubling caused by loose press machinery, true double die varieties show strong distinct separation in the lettering, date, or design elements. A notable double die variety in the Roosevelt dime series can instantly elevate a common date coin into a high-value collectible worth hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on the severity and visibility of the doubling. When you are searching through your own collection or looking through inherited coin hoards, there are several golden rules you must follow to protect the integrity and value of your collection. First and foremost, never clean or polish an old coin under any circumstances. To a beginner, a shiny, clean coin looks much more attractive than a dark-toned or dirty one. However, to a numismatist, cleaning a coin destroys its original surface texture, leaves microscopic hairline scratches, and permanently strips away the natural mint luster that collectors prize above all else. A cleaned coin is often considered damaged goods in the eyes of serious buyers, and its market value can plummet by 50% or more compared to an untouched original specimen. Second, you should always handle coins with extreme care. Hold them by their edges using your thumb and forefinger, or better yet, wear clean cotton or nitrile gloves. The oils and acids present on human skin can react with the metal over time, leaving permanent fingerprints and accelerating environmental corrosion or undesirable toning. Third, store your coins properly. Do not keep valuable coins in ordinary cardboard boxes, plastic bags, or cheap polyvinyl chloride flips that can degrade and chemically damage the coin surfaces over time. Instead, invest in archival quality protective holders such as inert mylar flips, hard plastic airtight capsules, or certified graded slabs. Store your collection in a cool, dry environment away from extreme humidity and temperature fluctuations, which can cause rapid oxidation and tarnishing. If you believe you have found a rare variety, a pristine high-grade specimen, or an unusual mint error, your best course of action is to have the coin authenticated and graded by a reputable third-party grading service. Professional grading removes all guesswork. Experts examine the coin under magnification to verify its authenticity, rule out counterfeits or alterations, and assign a definitive numerical grade encased in a tamper-evidence secure holder. This certification provides peace of mind and establishes a recognized market value if you ever decide to sell or insure your collection. Building a complete collection of Roosevelt dimes is an immensely rewarding pursuit. Some collectors aim to assemble a basic date and mint mark set from 1946 to the present day, focusing on acquiring clean examples of every year. Others take on the challenge of putting together a complete set of silver Roosevelt dimes in pristine mint state condition, complete with full bands designations. Advanced numismatists often specialize in mint errors, varieties, or even proof-only issues, creating a deeply personalized and unique collection that reflects their specific interests and dedication. Today we are diving deep into your pocket change to look for a coin that might be sitting in your drawer right now, completely unnoticed. We are talking about the 1994 P Mint Mark Roosevelt dime. Now, before we get started, I need to clear something up right away. There is a piece of misinformation floating around out there that this coin could be worth $782,000. Let me be absolutely clear. That is not accurate for the 1994 P Roosevelt dime. That figure refers to other extremely rare dimes, like the 1975 NOS proof Roosevelt dime, which has sold for over $300,000. But that is a completely different coin. So why are we talking about the 1994 P today? Because while it may not make you a millionaire, this coin has some fascinating details, and in the right condition or with the right error, it could be worth a whole lot more than 10 cents. The Roosevelt dime series has a rich history. It was introduced in 1946, shortly after the passing of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The design was a fitting tribute to a man who fought polio and helped establish the March of Dimes organization. The obverse, or the front of the coin, features a left-facing portrait of Roosevelt, designed by John R. Sinek, whose initials JS appear on the coin. The reverse shows a torch flanked by olive and oak branches, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. Depending on the year, these dimes were made of 90% silver or a copper-nickel-clad composition. The 1994 P is part of the copper-nickel-clad era, which began in 1965 after the Coinage Act removed silver from circulating dimes and quarters. So, what makes a 1994 P Roosevelt dime valuable? As with any coin, value is determined by a few key factors: condition, mint errors, and rarity. The 1994 P is not a rare coin in the traditional sense. The Philadelphia Mint produced a staggering 1,189,000,000 of them. That is over 1 billion coins. With a mintage that high, you might think it is impossible for this coin to be worth anything, but you would be wrong. Let's break down what you should be looking for. Now, here is where things get really interesting. While the 1994 P dime is common overall, specific errors can make it highly collectible. Mint errors happen when something goes wrong during the striking process. These anomalies can range from minor to dramatic, and collectors pay a premium for them. Let's go through some of the most notable errors for the 1994 P Roosevelt dime. One of the most sought-after errors is the off-center strike. This occurs when the planchet or the blank metal disc is not properly fed into the press. The result is a coin where the design is shifted to one side, leaving a portion of the planchet blank. The value of an off-center strike depends on how much of the design is missing. A 50% off-center strike can be quite valuable. For example, a 1994 P Roosevelt dime that was struck 50% off-center and graded MS-64 sold at auction. Another error to look for is the clipped planchet. This happens when the blanking press that cuts planchets from a metal strip fails to cut a complete circle. The resulting planchet has a curved or straight clip, and when struck, the coin shows a missing section. A 1994 D dime with a 12% clipped planchet has been documented. Then there is the broad strike error. This occurs when the coin is struck without a retaining collar, which is the metal ring that gives a coin its finished edge. Without it, the coin metal spreads out, creating a coin that is wider and thinner than normal, often with a raised, irregular edge. A 1994p Roosevelt dime that was broad-struck has been sold at auction. Misaligned die errors are another type to watch for. This happens when the obverse and reverse dies are not perfectly aligned with each other, causing the design to be struck off-center on one side while the other side is normal. Struck-through errors occur when a foreign object, like a piece of wire or grease, gets between the die and the planchet. This can leave an indentation or a missing detail on the coin. Now, a common question is about double dies. A double die is a type of error where the design elements show a doubling effect because the die itself was struck twice with a misalignment. While double dies are popular in other years, like the 1963 and 1964D Roosevelt dimes, they are not commonly associated with the 1994p dime. The 1994p is not known for a significant double die variety. So, how do you verify if your coin is valuable? The first step is to check the date and mint mark. The mint mark on a 1994p dime is located on the obverse, just above the date and to the right of Roosevelt's neck. The P indicates it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. If you have a coin with no mint mark, it is likely a normal Philadelphia coin from before 1980, but for 1994, a missing P would be highly unusual. Once you've confirmed the date and mint mark, examine the coin closely for any of the errors we discussed. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to look for off-center strikes, clips, or any other abnormalities. If you think you have a valuable coin, the most important piece of advice I can give you is this: do not clean it. Never, ever polish or clean an old coin. Cleaning a coin can scratch the surface, remove the natural patina, and significantly reduce its value. Collectors want coins in their original, untouched condition. The best thing you can do is to protect it. Place it in a non-PVC coin holder or a protective flip to prevent damage. Do not handle it by the face. Always hold it by the edges. Once your coin is protected, the next step is to have it professionally graded. Professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, will authenticate your coin, assign it a grade, and encapsulate it in a tamper-proof holder. This process adds tremendous credibility and value to your coin, especially if it is a high-grade example or a rare error. For a 1994p dime, the cost of grading might outweigh the value of a common coin, but if you have a truly exceptional error or a high MS grade, it is absolutely worth it. Now let's recap. The 1994p Roosevelt dime is a common coin with a mintage of over 1 billion. In circulated condition, it is worth face value. But in uncirculated condition, it can be worth up to $160. However, the real money is in the errors. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, and other mint errors can significantly increase the value. The key is to know what to look for and to protect your coin once you find it. I hope this deep dive has been helpful. The world of numismatics is full of surprises, and you never know what might be hiding in your pocket change. If you enjoyed learning about the 1994p Roosevelt dime, please give this video a like, share it with your friends who love coins, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more numismatic content. We have a lot more fascinating coins to explore. You might be carrying a valuable 1979 no-mint mark Roosevelt dime in your pocket change right now, and today we are going to dive deep into this specific coin. If this coin has a unique error or is in top condition, it could be worth a lot of money. We will explore everything you need to know about the 1979 Roosevelt dime, from its history and design to the specific errors and grading factors that can make it a hidden treasure. So, grab your magnifying glass and let's get started. The Roosevelt dime is a coin that most of us have seen countless times. It has been a staple of American currency since 1946, when it was introduced to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt following his passing in 1945. The decision to place Roosevelt on the dime was a natural one, given his deep association with the March of Dimes, an organization he helped found to combat polio. The dime was chosen because of its connection to the organization's fundraising efforts, and it was a fitting tribute to a president who had inspired a nation through some of its most difficult times. The obverse, or head side, of the coin features a striking profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt, designed by John R. Sinek, who was the chief engraver of the United States Mint at the time. Sinek's design is elegant and dignified, capturing Roosevelt's likeness with a level of detail that has made it an enduring classic. The reverse, or tail side, features a torch at the center, symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch on the left, representing peace, and an oak branch on the right, representing strength and independence. This design has remained largely unchanged since the coin's introduction, making it one of the most recognizable coins in the world. Depending on the year, the Roosevelt dime might be made of silver or a copper-nickel blend. From 1946 to 1964, these dimes were composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, giving them a distinct weight and appearance. However, in 1965, due to rising silver prices, the composition was changed to a copper-nickel-clad composition, which is what we see on most dimes today. The 1979 Roosevelt dime falls into this copper-nickel era, meaning it is made of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, with a pure copper core. This change in composition is a crucial piece of the coin's history and affects how collectors view different years. In circulated condition, a 1979 dime might just be worth its face value of 10 cents, but a pristine, uncirculated version can sell for thousands of dollars at auction. This is why it is so important to carefully examine any old coins you come across. You never know what you might find. Now, let's talk about the mint mark, as this is one of the most critical aspects of identifying a valuable 1979 dime. To verify your coin, check the year and look for a mint mark near the Roosevelt image. The mint mark indicates which facility produced the coin. In 1979, the United States Mint had 3 active facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint, which is the original mint of the United States, traditionally did not place a mint mark on its coins. Therefore, a 1979 dime with no mint mark was struck in Philadelphia. This is the most common type, with over 315 million coins produced. Because of this massive mintage, a no mint mark dime found in your spare change is generally only worth its face value of 10 cents. However, this doesn't mean that all no mint mark dimes are worthless. The condition of the coin is everything. The Denver Mint, on the other hand, places a D mint mark on its coins, and the San Francisco Mint places an S mint mark. The 1979 D dime is also very common, with over 390 million coins made. The 1979 S dimes are special collector coins with mirror-like surfaces, known as proof coins, and are less common. These proof coins were struck exclusively for the annual United States proof set. The presence or absence of a mint mark is not an error in itself for the Philadelphia issue. It is standard. The real excitement in the numismatic world comes from coins that have mint mark errors. For example, a 1979 coin that was intended to be a proof strike from the San Francisco Mint but lacks the S mint mark would be a highly valuable error coin. This is because proof dies were prepared at the Philadelphia Mint, and occasionally, a die would be sent to San Francisco without the S mint mark being punched in. These no S proof dimes are among the most famous and valuable modern U.S. coins. The most famous of these is the 1975 no S proof Roosevelt dime, which has sold for more than $500,000 at auction. While a 1979 no S proof dime is not as well known, any missing mint mark on a proof coin is a significant error that should be investigated. Moving on to errors, there are several types that can make a 1979 dime valuable. The most common errors include off-center strikes, where the coin image isn't centered, and clipped planchets, where a piece of the metal disc is missing. Clipped planchet errors occur when the metal strip being punched into coin blanks overlaps, and the punch cuts into an area where a previous blank was removed. This creates a coin with a curved or straight clip missing from its edge. A 1979D Roosevelt dime with a rim clip in MS66 grade is a notable example of this type of error. These errors are highly collectible and can add substantial value to a coin. Another type of error is the double die. This happens during the die manufacturing process, not during the striking of the coin. The mint uses a hub to create coin dies through multiple impressions. If the hub and die are slightly misaligned between impressions, it creates a doubled image on the die. This doubling is then transferred to every coin struck from that die. A 1979D Roosevelt dime has been known to exhibit rim-restricted design duplication, which is a form of die doubling. While not as dramatic as a full double die, any noticeable doubling can make a coin more interesting to collectors. There are also transitional errors, which occur when a coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different year or composition. While the 1979 dime is not known for a major transitional error like the 1965 silver dime, it is always worth checking the weight and appearance of your coin to ensure it is on the correct planchet. Now, let's talk about grading, because this is where the real value of a coin is determined. The condition of a coin is everything. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition can be worth many times more than a coin that has seen regular use. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC use a 70-point scale to evaluate coins. A coin graded MS60 is at the lower end of mint state, while a coin graded MS70 is perfect. For a 1979 dime, the grade is determined by the amount of wear and the number of marks or scratches on the coin surface. Most 1979 dimes you find today are in the fine to extremely fine range, meaning they have significant wear and are worth exactly 10 cents. To reach a value above a few dollars, the coin must be in mint state. The full bands designation is a special attribute that adds significant value to any uncirculated 1979 dime. The reverse of the Roosevelt dime features a torch with horizontal bands at the top and bottom. To qualify for the full bands designation, both pairs of these bands must show complete separation, and the vertical lines of the torch must be clearly defined. This requires a strong strike from the dies, and not all dimes have this level of detail. A 1979 dime with full bands is much scarcer than a regular one, and collectors are willing to pay a substantial premium for it. For example, while a standard 1979 no-mint mark dime in MS65 might be worth $12, a full bands example in the same grade could be worth $35. At the MS67 level, the difference is even more dramatic, with a standard coin at $55 and a full bands coin at $450. This shows how important it is to look closely at the details of your coin. The 1979's proof dimes are graded on a similar scale, but they use the PR designation instead of MS. Proof coins are struck with specially polished dies and planchets, giving them a mirror-like finish. A 1979's Type 2 proof dime in PR69 Deep Cameo can be a beautiful and valuable coin. While many proof dimes are common, those in the highest grades, like PR70, can be quite valuable. Now, let's talk about the specific value of the 1979 no-mint mark dime. As we've mentioned, most of these coins are worth their face value. However, in uncirculated condition, they can be worth several dollars. A standard uncirculated 1979 dime might sell for around $2.79 to $7.33, but a full bands example can sell for much more. According to one price guide, a 1979 no-mint mark dime with full bands can be worth anywhere from $77.79 in good condition to $1,705.97 in mint state. Another source lists the value of a 1979 full bands dime in MS-67 at $450. The highest values are achieved by coins with significant errors. For example, a 1979 dime with a major off-center strike or a clipped planchet can sell for hundreds of dollars. A 1979 Roosevelt dime struck 25% off-center with a double-curved clip planchet in MS-64 full band sold for $144. While the 1979 dime is not known for the multi-million-dollar prices of some other coins, it can still be a valuable find. It is also important to note that the 1982 no-mint mark Roosevelt dime is especially valuable in mint state grades. This is because the Philadelphia Mint began using a P mint mark in 1980. So a 1982 dime without a mint mark is a genuine error. The 1979 no-mint mark dime is not an error in the same way. It is the standard issue from Philadelphia. However, this does not mean it cannot be valuable. It just means that its value is primarily driven by its condition and any additional errors it may have. When you are examining your 1979 dime, there are a few things you should never do. Never clean or polish an old coin, as this significantly reduces its value. Cleaning a coin can leave microscopic scratches on the surface that are visible under magnification, and it can also remove the natural patina that collectors find desirable. A cleaned coin will almost always be worth less than an uncleaned coin in the same condition. It is best to keep it protected in a holder until it can be professionally graded. If you think you have found a valuable 1979 dime, the best thing to do is to have it authenticated and graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. These services will examine your coin, assign it a grade, and encapsulate it in a tamper-proof holder. This not only protects the coin, but also gives potential buyers confidence in its authenticity and condition. In summary, the 1979 no-mint mark Roosevelt dime is a common coin that is mostly worth its face value. However, if you find one that is in pristine, uncirculated condition, or if it has a full bands designation, it could be worth a significant amount of money. And if it has a major error like an off-center strike or a clipped planchet, its value could be even higher. The key to finding a valuable coin is to look closely at the details. Check the year and the mint mark, examine the condition of the coin, and look for any unusual features. You might be surprised at what you find in your pocket change. Today we are diving deep into a coin that you might very well have sitting in your pocket change right now. The 1973 Roosevelt dime. Specifically, we are focusing on the 1973 no-mint mark Roosevelt dime. If you have ever glanced at the change in your hand and noticed a small letter missing next to the date, you might have wondered if you had stumbled upon a rare treasure. In the world of numismatics, certain no-mint mark coins have sold for extraordinary sums. The famous 1982 no-mint mark Roosevelt dime, for example, is worth a significant premium even in worn condition. And then there is the legendary 1975 no-S proof Roosevelt dime, which has traded for more than $300,000. But what about the 1973 no-mint mark dime? Is it a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered? Or is it just another common coin? That is exactly what we are going to explore in this video. This script is designed to be a comprehensive 20-minute guide. We will cover everything from the history of the Roosevelt dime to the specific details of the 1973 issue, what the absence of a mint mark really means, how to grade your coin, what errors to look for, and most importantly, what your coin might actually be worth. To understand the 1973 dime, we first need to understand the series it belongs to. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946, just months after the passing of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It was deemed a fitting tribute to the man who fought polio and helped establish the March of Dimes organization. The design was created by Chief Engraver John R. Sinek. The Roosevelt dime has been in continuous production from 1946 to the present day. Depending on the year, these dimes were made of different materials. From 1946 to 1964, They were struck in 90% silver. But starting in 1965, the composition changed to a copper-nickel-clad blend to remove silver from the coinage. The 1973 dime falls into this modern era. It is made of a copper-nickel composition, 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, with a pure copper center. It weighs 2.27 grams, has a diameter of 17.9 millimeters, and features a reeded edge. This is where many people get confused, and it is the most important part of this video. If you find a 1973 dime without a mint mark, you might think you have found a rare error coin. But for 1973, a missing mint mark is actually the standard for coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During this era, the Philadelphia facility did not use a P-mint mark on dimes. They minted 315,420,000 of these coins in 1973, or 315,670,000 according to other sources. Either way, that is over 315 million coins. They are incredibly common. So, a 1973 dime with no mint mark is not an error. It is simply a Philadelphia Mint coin. If you find one in your pocket change, the chances are overwhelming that it is just a regular circulation strike worth its face value. As one expert put it, all of the reader's dimes dated 1965, 1968, 1973, and 1977 are circulation strikes worth their face value of 10 cents each. But wait, there is more to the story. There are other mints that produced dimes in 1973, and they do have mint marks. The Denver Mint produced the 1973 D dime. They struck 455,032,426 of these. That is even more than Philadelphia. The 1973 D dime is also very common. The San Francisco Mint produced the 1973's proof dime. Proof coins are specially made for collectors with a higher quality strike and polished dies. The mintage for the 1973's proof dime was 2,760,339. While this is a much lower number than the business strikes, it is still fairly common for the proof series. So what does all this mean? It means that if you have a 1973 dime without a mint mark, you have a Philadelphia coin. It is not rare because of the missing mint mark. But rarity is not the only factor that determines value. If the no mint mark is not an error, then what could make a 1973 dime worth more than 10 cents? The answer lies in two main areas: condition and mint errors. Most dimes you find in circulation will grade between fine and about uncirculated. At these levels, the coin is only worth its face value or maybe a few cents more. But if you find a coin that has never been in circulation, one that has been kept safe in a bank-wrapped roll or a collection, the value can increase significantly. In average circulated condition, a 1973 dime is worth around 10 to 25 cents. However, in uncirculated mint state grades, the value starts to climb. An uncirculated 1973 dime in MS60 to MS63 condition might be worth $1 to $5. In gem uncirculated condition, MS65 and above, the value can range from $15 to $65. And if you have a truly superb gem example, graded MS67 with a full bands designation, the value can reach $250 to over $600. Now, what is this full bands designation I just mentioned? This refers to the horizontal bands on the torch on the reverse side of the coin. If these bands are fully separated and distinct, the coin is considered a high-quality strike. Full bands Roosevelt dimes are scarce and command substantial premiums over similarly graded non-full band specimens. Even a tiny scratch on Roosevelt's cheek or a ding on the rim can drop the value from $50 down to 10 cents. So condition is everything. According to the NGC price guide, as of June 2026, a circulated 1973 D dime is worth between 15 and 35 cents. But on the open market, pristine uncirculated 1973 D dimes can sell for as much as $70. PCGS auction records show that a 1973 dime graded MS-67 sold for $1,020. A 1973 D dime graded MS-67 sold for $1,200. These are exceptional prices for exceptional coins. While the absence of a mint mark on a 1973 dime is not an error, there are other types of errors that can appear on these coins. For 1973, there are no known no-S proof dime errors. So if you have a 1973 proof dime without an S mint mark, it is extremely unlikely to be genuine. It is probably a regular Philadelphia business strike. But there are other errors to look for. These include off-center strikes, double strikes, missing clad layers, cuds, and broad strikes. One example is the 1973 D Roosevelt dime that was double struck with the second strike off-center. A coin with this dramatic error, graded MS-65, sold for $1,200. Another type of error to watch for is a die crack or die chip. These are minor anomalies that are quite common. As one expert noted, a weak reverse letter is likely the result of the die having become filled with foreign matter. This is generally considered a quality control issue rather than a mint error for which knowledgeable collectors would pay a premium. Significant, dramatic errors like off-center strikes, double strikes, and missing clad layers are what you want to look for. These are the errors that can add real value to your coin. Grading is the process of evaluating a coin's condition. It is a skill that takes time to develop, but there are some basic things you can look for. If you see a lot of wear on these high points, the coin is circulated. If the details are sharp and there is no wear, the coin might be uncirculated. Next, look for scratches, nicks, and dings. Even a tiny mark can lower the grade. Look at the rims. Are they full and sharp, or are they flattened and worn? Check the luster. Uncirculated coins have a cartwheel luster that rotates as you tilt the coin. Circulated coins lose this luster. If you think you have a high-grade coin, it is best to have it professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC. These companies are the standard in the industry. They will authenticate your coin, assign a grade, and place it in a protective holder. Professional grading is essential if you plan to sell a valuable coin. Buyers trust the grades from PCGS and NGC. For a 1973 no-mint mark dime from Philadelphia in circulated condition, the value is 10 to 25 cents. In uncirculated condition from MS-60 to MS-63, the value is $1.50 to $5. In gem uncirculated condition MS-65 and above, the value is $15 to $65. In superb gem condition MS-67 full bands, the value is $250 to over $600. For a 1973 D dime from Denver, the values are similar. Circulated examples are worth 15 to 35 cents. Uncirculated examples can sell for up to $70. For a 1973S proof dime, the value depends on the grade. Examples up to PR69 deep cameo are abundant. Only in perfect PR70 deep cameo condition are they difficult to find and worth a significant premium. A PR70 deep cameo 1973S proof dime dominates the market at around $7,000. The Roosevelt dime has made headlines in recent years. In 2024, a story made international news about three sisters in Ohio who inherited a dime that had been sitting in a bank vault for over 40 years. Their brother and mother had bought the coin in 1978 for $18,200. When experts examined it, they revealed that this incredibly rare dime could be worth over $500,000. Now, that coin was not a 1973 dime. It was a much rarer specimen. But it shows that the Roosevelt dime series contains some genuine treasures. It demonstrates why it is worth checking your coins and learning about what you have. Before we wrap up, I want to give you some essential advice. Never, ever clean or polish an old coin. This is one of the most important rules of coin collecting. Cleaning a coin removes the original surface and patina. It leaves microscopic scratches that are visible under magnification. This significantly reduces the value of the coin. If you find a coin that you think might be valuable, do not rub it, do not wipe it, and do not use any cleaning solutions. The best thing you can do is to keep it protected. Place it in a soft coin holder or a plastic flip. Handle it only by the edges. And keep it in a safe place until you can have it professionally examined. Also, be cautious about the information you find online. There are many misleading articles and videos that exaggerate the value of common coins. Always verify information from reputable sources like PCGS, NGC, and the Gray Sheet. So, let us summarize everything we have covered today. The 1973 no-mint mark Roosevelt dime is a coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The absence of a mint mark is not an error. It is the standard for Philadelphia coins of that era. The coin is made of copper-nickel clad composition. It weighs 2.27 grams and has a diameter of 17.9 millimeters. Over 315 million of these coins were produced, making them very common. In circulated condition, the coin is worth its face value of 10 cents or perhaps a few cents more. The value increases significantly for uncirculated examples, especially those in high grades with full bands designations. A superb gem MS-67 full bands example can be worth over $600. Mint errors like off-center strikes, double strikes, and missing clad layers can add significant value. However, the no-mint mark on a 1973 dime is not an error. Proof coins from San Francisco have an S-mint mark. There are no known no-S proof errors for 1973. Professional grading by PCGS or NGC is essential for determining the true value of a high-grade coin. And never clean your coins. It destroys their value. The 1973 no-mint mark Roosevelt dime might not be the rarest coin in the world, but it is a fascinating piece of American history. It represents a time when the Philadelphia Mint was still producing coins without a P-mint mark. It is a reminder that even common coins can have interesting stories. And who knows, you might have a 1973 dime in your pocket change right now. It might be a regular circulation coin worth 10 cents. Or it might be a pristine uncirculated gem that a collector would pay hundreds of dollars for. The only way to know is to look closely, check the condition, and do your research. Today, we are focusing on a specific Roosevelt dime that has captured the attention of collectors nationwide. If this coin has a unique error or is in top condition, it could be worth a significant amount of money. So before you spend that dime on a piece of gum, take a closer look. What you find might surprise you. Let us start with some background. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946, shortly after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The design was created by John R. Sinek, and it features Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse or front side with a torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. This design has remained largely unchanged for decades, making it one of the most familiar coins in American pockets. Depending on the year, the Roosevelt dime might be made of silver or a copper-nickel blend. Coins minted from 1946 through 1964 are composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, giving them a distinct appearance and feel. However, in 1965, due to rising silver prices, the composition shifted to a copper-nickel clad layer over a pure copper core. This change means that most dimes you find in circulation today have no silver content at all. But it is important to note that only certain variations of the Roosevelt dime become rare and highly sought after by collectors. The vast majority are worth exactly 10 cents, but a few specific dates and mint marks stand out as true treasures. Now, what makes a coin rare? Rarity is determined by things like specific mint errors or high grades. Mint errors occur when something goes wrong during the striking process. These can include off-center strikes, double dies, repunched mint marks, or missing mint marks. In the case of the 1983 Roosevelt dime, one of the most famous errors is the no-S proof variety. This is a proof coin that was struck at the San Francisco Mint but was accidentally produced without the S mint mark. Proof coins are specially made for collectors with a mirror-like finish and sharp details. They are not intended for circulation. However, in 1983, a small number of proof dimes were struck without the S mint mark because the dies were prepared in Philadelphia and the mint mark was simply left off. This error had happened before in 1968, 1970, and 1975, but the 1983 no-S proof is particularly notable because it was the last time this specific error occurred in the Roosevelt dime series. According to the Professional Coin Grading Service, or PCGS, most proof dimes from the 1980s have deep cameo surfaces, and the 1983 no-S edition is no exception, which adds to its visual appeal and numismatic value. Estimates suggest that only 3,000 to 3,500 of these no-S proof dimes were ever produced, making them exceptionally rare. But the 1983 P Mint Mark Business Strike dime is a different story. The Philadelphia Mint produced a massive number of these coins for general circulation. In fact, the mintage for the 1983 P Roosevelt dime was over 647 million coins. With such a high production number, the vast majority of these dimes are common and worth only their face value. However, there is a catch. The 1983 P dime truly shines in the highest mint state grades, specifically those exhibiting full torch detail. Full torch, sometimes called full bands, refers to the horizontal bands on the torch on the reverse of the coin. In order to earn this designation, the bands must show complete separation and sharp definition. Due to the degraded condition of the hubs and dies used that year, sharply struck specimens are remarkably scarce. In fact, less than 2% of all 1983 P dimes submitted to PCGS have earned the full torch designation. This scarcity drives up the value significantly. A typical circulated 1983 P dime has a notional numismatic value of about $1, but in reality, most dealers will not pay more than face value for circulated examples. In mint state, the price jumps to around $4 to $6 for lower-grade uncirculated coins. However, a superb gem-graded MS-67 can sell for several $100s. One MS-67 example sold at auction for $79, while another brought $74. An MS-68 specimen, which is an exceptionally high grade, sold for over $2,200. The difference between a coin worth 10 cents and one worth thousands of dollars often comes down to a single point on the grading scale. Now, you might be wondering what other errors affect the value of the 1983 Roosevelt dime. Beyond the no-S proof and the full torch business strike, there are a few other varieties worth noting. One is the 1983 D repunched mint mark. This occurs when the mint mark is punched into the die more than once, creating overlapping letters. These are collectible but generally do not command the same prices as the no-S proof. Another error to look for is an off-center strike, where the coin is not properly aligned with the dies during striking. Off-center coins can be quite valuable depending on how much of the design is missing and whether the date is still visible. There are also transitional errors, though these are more common in other years. For example, in 1965, some dimes were accidentally struck on silver planchets intended for the previous year's coins. While that specific error does not apply to 1983, it illustrates the kinds of mistakes that can turn an ordinary coin into a treasure. It is also worth mentioning that some 1983 dimes have been found with a split die or a die crack, which can add modest value for error collectors. However, the most famous and valuable error remains the missing S mint mark on the proof coins. To verify your coin, you need to check the year and look for a mint mark near the Roosevelt image. The mint mark is a small letter that indicates where the coin was struck. For the Philadelphia Mint, the mint mark is AP. For Denver, it is AD. For San Francisco, it is an S. And for West Point, it is AW. On the Roosevelt dime, the mint mark is located on the obverse, just above the date, near the bottom right of Roosevelt's bust. If you have a 1983 dime and you see AP, that means it was struck in Philadelphia. That is the common business strike we have been discussing. If you see a D, it was struck in Denver. If you see an S, it was struck in San Francisco, and it could be a proof coin. But if you have a 1983 dime with a mirror-like finish and no mint mark at all, you may have found the highly valuable no S proof error. It is important to remember that not all dimes without a mint mark are errors. From 1965 to 1967, the mint intentionally did not place mint marks on any coins. And for many years before 1980, Philadelphia coins did not have a P mint mark. So a missing mint mark on a 1983 coin from Philadelphia would actually be normal. The error only applies to proof coins that should have an S but do not. This distinction is crucial and often confuses new collectors. Now, let us talk about what to look for if you are searching through your pocket change or a jar of old coins. First, check the date. Look for 1983. Second, examine the mint mark. If it is a P, set it aside and inspect it more closely. Third, look at the details. Is the strike sharp? Can you see the individual bands on the torch clearly? If so, you might have a full torch specimen. Fourth, check the surface. Is it bright and lustrous with no signs of wear? If it looks like it just came from the mint, it could be worth a premium. Fifth, and most importantly, if you have a proof coin with a mirror-like finish and no S mint mark, you have found a true rarity. Do not spend it. Do not clean it. Handle it by the edges only and place it in a protective holder immediately. Then consider having it professionally graded. The difference between a coin worth 10 cents and one worth $10,000 often comes down to how well you preserve it. It is also worth understanding the grading scale used by professional services. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin with no flaws. Mint state grades range from 60 to 70 for uncirculated coins. Proof grades use the same numerical scale but are designated with a PF or PR prefix. For the 1983 P Roosevelt dime, grades of MS67 and above are where the real value begins. For the 1983 No S proof, grades of PR69 and PR70 are the most valuable. The difference between a PR69 and a PR70 can be thousands of dollars, which shows how important even the smallest detail can be. The grading companies also use designations like Deep Cameo or Ultra Cameo to describe the contrast between the frosted devices and the mirror-like fields. A Deep Cameo designation adds further value because it indicates a visually striking coin with exceptional eye appeal. If you are interested in starting a collection, the Roosevelt Dime series is an excellent place to begin. The coins are affordable, widely available, and there is a rich variety of errors and high-grade specimens to pursue. You can start by searching through your pocket change, visiting local coin shops, or attending coin shows. You can also buy rolls of dimes from banks and search through them for errors and high-quality coins. This is a popular activity known as coin roll hunting, and it can be both fun and rewarding. Many collectors have found valuable coins this way, including some of the rare varieties we have discussed today. The key is to be patient, learn what to look for, and enjoy the process. Every coin tells a story, and the Roosevelt dime has a particularly interesting history. In summary, the 1983 P Mint Mark Roosevelt dime is a fascinating coin with a wide range of values. Most examples are worth only 10 cents, but a few are worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The key factors are the presence of a mint error, the condition of the coin, and the grade assigned by a professional grading service. If you have a 1983 dime, take a moment to examine it carefully. Check the date, the mint mark, the strike quality, and the overall condition. If you find a full torch specimen or a no-S proof, you may have a valuable treasure. Remember to handle it carefully, never clean it, and consider having it graded. And most importantly, enjoy the thrill of the hunt. You never know what you might find in your pocket change. Today, we are focusing on a specific Roosevelt dime. If this coin has a unique error or is in top condition, it could be worth a lot of money. We are going to explore everything you need to know about the 2022 Roosevelt dime, from its history and composition to the specific errors and conditions that can make it highly valuable. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to look for and how to determine if your dime is a hidden treasure. Before we get into the specifics of the 2022 issue, let us take a moment to appreciate the history behind this coin. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946, just months after the passing of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It was designed by John R. Sinek and was deemed a fitting tribute to the man who fought a disease diagnosed as polio and helped establish the March of Dimes organization. The dime was a logical choice for honoring Roosevelt because he supported the March of Dimes, a program that raised funds for research to find a cure for polio. The Roosevelt dime replaced the Mercury dime and has been struck continuously by the United States Mint ever since. Depending on the year, it might be made of silver or a copper-nickel blend. From 1946 to 1964, the Roosevelt dime was composed of 90% silver and 10% copper. This gave the coin intrinsic value beyond its face value. However, with the passage of the Coinage Act of 1965, the dime's silver content was removed. Dimes from 1965 to the present are struck from a clad metal composed of outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy, bonded to a pure copper core. The 2022 Roosevelt dime, like all modern dimes, is made of this copper-nickel clad composition. It has a mass of 2.268 grams, a diameter of 17.91 millimeters, and a thickness of 1.35 millimeters. Understanding this composition is important because it helps us understand why certain errors occur and why some coins are more valuable than others. Now, let us address the elephant in the room. You may have heard rumors or seen headlines suggesting that a 2022 Roosevelt dime could be worth an astronomical sum, perhaps even $771,000. While it is true that some Roosevelt dimes have sold for extraordinary amounts, it is essential to separate fact from fiction. The most valuable Roosevelt dime ever sold is the 1975 no-S proof dime, of which only two are known to exist. One of these sold for over $450,000. Other rare Roosevelt dimes have fetched tens of thousands of dollars at auction. So where does the $771,000 figure come from? It is likely a misinterpretation or a confusion with other highly valuable coins. It is crucial to understand that only certain variations of the Roosevelt dime become rare and highly sought after by collectors. Rarity is determined by things like specific mint errors or high grades. A pristine, uncirculated version of a 2022 dime can sell for more than face value, but we are talking about hundreds of dollars, not hundreds of thousands. So, if most 2022 dimes are only worth 10 or 15 cents, what makes some of them valuable? The answer lies in two key factors: condition and errors. First, let us talk about condition. The coin grading system uses a 1 to 70 scale, ranging from poor, which is heavily worn, to mint state, which is perfect condition. A mint state coin can range from one that is covered with marks, which would be MS-60, to a flawless example, which would be MS-70. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. For a 2022 dime, the difference in value based on condition can be significant. In circulated condition, the coin might be worth between 20 cents and $2. But in pristine, uncirculated condition, it can sell for much more. According to the NGC price guide, A 2022 D dime in pristine, uncirculated condition can sell for as much as $25. But there is another factor that can dramatically increase the value of a 2022 dime. Errors. Minting errors are mistakes that occur during the production process. These can include things like die errors, which are created from broken dies, cracked collars, misaligned dies, double dies, and repunched mint marks. Striking errors are caused in the minting process and can include bonded, broad-struck, brockage, clash dies, double-struck, indent, flip-over, and uniface errors. One of the most intriguing types of errors collectors seek are die chip and die crack errors. These flaws occur when the coin die develops small chips or cracks. Another valuable error is a missing mint mark, where the coin is struck without the identifying letter that indicates which mint produced it. Because 2022 coins are relatively new, all the varieties of errors are still being discovered. This means that if you have a 2022 dime with an error, it could be worth a premium over its face value. Some error coins can fetch anywhere from a few dollars to several hundred, depending on the severity and rarity of the error. Before we move on to how to check your coin, we need to discuss one more crucial factor that can add value to a Roosevelt dime: the full bands designation. On the reverse of the Roosevelt dime, there is a torch. The torch has horizontal bands across it. On some coins, these bands show complete, uninterrupted horizontal lines. Collectors call this the full bands or FB designation. Both the 90% silver and copper nickel FB Roosevelt dimes are scarce and command substantial premiums over similarly graded non-FB specimens. This means that if you have a 2022 dime that is in high grade and has full bands, it could be worth significantly more than a coin of the same grade without that designation. Now that you understand what makes a 2022 dime valuable, let us walk through the steps you should take to check your coin. Next, check for a mint mark. The mint mark is a small letter that indicates where the coin was produced. There are 4 potential mint marks on Roosevelt dimes: P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, and W for West Point. Since 1968, the mint mark has been located on the obverse of the coin, above the date. For a 2022 dime, you will find the mint mark near Roosevelt's neck, just above the date. If there is no mint mark, it means the coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. However, it is important to note that the Philadelphia Mint did not use a mint mark before 1980. So a 2022 coin without a mint mark is normal. You are specifically looking for the 2022 D mint mark. This means the coin was produced at the Denver Mint. While the Denver Mint produced a large number of dimes in 2022, the D mint mark is still the one that collectors are most interested in for this particular year. Once you have confirmed the year and mint mark, the next step is to assess the coin's condition. Look at the coin carefully. Is it heavily worn? Or does it look like it has never been used? Look for scratches, marks, and signs of wear. The better the condition, the more valuable the coin. If your coin appears to be in uncirculated condition, you should consider having it professionally graded. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC use the Sheldon scale to assign a numerical grade to the coin. This grade is a key factor in determining the coin's value. Let us look at some real-world examples to understand the potential value of a 2022 Roosevelt dime. According to PCGS, most MS-66 graded examples of certain Roosevelt dimes sell for around $300. A 2022 sale of a NGC graded MS-67 Roosevelt dime sold for $630. For even higher grades, the prices can go up. A 2022 D graded MS-68 feet by NGC was sold as part of a pair. While specific prices for MS-68 2022 dimes are not always publicly available, we know that MS-68 specimens of other Roosevelt dimes can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The key takeaway here is that condition is everything. A 2022 dime in average circulated condition is not worth much more than its face value. But a 2022 dime in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially one with a high grade like MS-67 or MS-68 and the full bands designation, can be worth hundreds of dollars. If you think you have a valuable 2022 dime, it is absolutely crucial that you handle it properly. The worst thing you can do is clean or polish the coin. This is a mistake that many people make, and it can be devastating to the coin's value. Never clean or polish an old coin, as this significantly reduces its value. It is a natural impulse to want to make a coin look bright and shiny, but improper, abrasive cleaning ruins the surface and destroys its value. Polishing or cleaning coins damages the metal and can reduce collector value by 50 to 90%. A $1,000 silver dollar can suddenly become a $100 coin if a kitchen scouring pad has been used to make it bright and shiny. The consensus among coin experts and numismatists is never to try to clean a coin yourself. Cleaning can cause irreversible damage to the coin's surface. Because originality is highly valued in numismatics, a cleaned coin is often worth far less than a comparable example that has remained untouched. So, what should you do if you find a coin that might be valuable? The best approach is to keep it protected in a holder until it can be professionally graded. Use a proper coin holder, such as a 2x2-inch cardboard or plastic holder, a plastic tube, or a capsule. For high-value coins, hard plastic holders are recommended. Professional coin grading services use sealed holders called slabs to protect authenticated and graded coins. It is also important to store your coins in a safe environment. Recommended conditions for storing coins are 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit with relative humidity between 35 and 50%. Outside this range, corrosion and alloy reactions can accelerate. If you have followed all the steps and you believe you have a valuable 2022 Roosevelt dime, what should you do next? First, do not attempt to sell it immediately. Take your time to do your research. Look up recent sales of similar coins. The Graysheet catalog and the NGC price guide are excellent resources for determining the value of your coin. Second, consider getting your coin professionally graded. There are several reputable grading services, including PCGS, the Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Company. These services will examine your coin, assign it a grade, and encapsulate it in a protective holder. A graded coin is easier to sell and often commands a higher price than an ungraded coin. Third, if you decide to sell your coin, do your homework on the best place to sell it. You can sell it through a reputable coin dealer, at an auction house, or through online marketplaces. Make sure you understand the fees and commissions involved before you commit to a sale. While the 2022 Roosevelt dime might not be the holy grail of coin collecting, it is a fascinating example of how modern coins can still hold value. The world of numismatics is full of surprises, and you never know when you might stumble upon a valuable coin in your pocket change. This hobby is not just about making money. It is about history, art, and the thrill of the hunt. Every coin has a story to tell. The Roosevelt dime tells the story of a president who fought a devastating disease and inspired a nation. It tells the story of how our money has evolved over time, from silver to copper nickel-clad. And for some lucky collectors, it tells the story of a valuable find that turned pocket change into a small fortune. If you enjoy learning about rare coins, please like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel for more numismatic content. Let us know in the comments if you have a Roosevelt dime. Have you ever found a valuable coin in your change? We would love to hear your stories. In summary, the 2022 D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime is a modern coin that is generally worth its face value. However, if this coin has a unique error or is in top condition, it could be worth a lot of money. To determine if your coin is valuable, you need to check the year, look for the mint mark, assess the condition, and look for errors or the full bands designation. Remember to never clean your coin and to keep it protected in a holder until it can be professionally graded. Today, we are embarking on a deep dive into a coin that you might very well have in your pocket change right now. The 1998 Roosevelt dime. It's a common coin, struck in massive numbers, but as we'll explore, certain examples of this dime are far from ordinary. Some are worth a small fortune. In this video, we're going to cover everything you need to know about the 1998 Roosevelt dime. We will look at its history, its design, and its composition. We will discuss what makes it valuable, from pristine, uncirculated condition to rare and dramatic mint errors. We'll also give you a practical guide on how to examine your own coins and what to do if you think you've found a winner. And for all you collectors out there, stick around because we have a special focus on the specific errors that make this coin a hidden treasure. If you enjoy learning about rare coins, please like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel for more numismatic content. The history of the Roosevelt dime. Before we get to the specifics of the 1998 issue, it's important to understand the history of the Roosevelt dime. The series was introduced in 1946, shortly after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The dime was chosen to honor him due to his connection to the March of Dimes, a charity he founded to combat polio. The obverse, or head side, features a portrait of Roosevelt, while the reverse, or tail side, features a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. The design was created by John R. Sinek. Early Roosevelt dimes, minted from 1946 to 1964, were composed of 90% silver. However, as the price of silver rose, the composition was changed. From 1965 onwards, the dime became a copper-nickel-clad coin, meaning it has a pure copper core with outer layers of a copper-nickel alloy. The 1998 dime is one of these modern copper-nickel coins. So, while it doesn't contain any precious metal, its value can still be substantial for other reasons. The D in 1998 stands for Denver, the mint where this coin was struck. The Philadelphia Mint also produced dimes in 1998, which carry a P mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint produced proof coins for collectors, which carry an S mint mark. The grading scale. So, if it's so common, why are we talking about it? The value of any coin is primarily determined by two factors: condition and rarity. Condition is assessed through a process called coin grading. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with 70 being a perfect, flawless coin. For circulated coins, grades range from poor, P1, to about uncirculated, AU50, AU58. A coin that shows no signs of wear but has been in circulation is considered uncirculated or mint state, MS. Within the mint state category, grades range from MS60 to MS70. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. A coin that is graded MS65 is considered gem uncirculated and is highly desirable. Full bands designation. There is also a special designation for Roosevelt dimes called full bands or full torch. This refers to the horizontal bands on the torch on the reverse of the coin. If the bands are fully struck and show clear, complete lines, the coin can be designated as full bands, FB. This is a sign of a strong strike and is highly prized by collectors. FB examples command substantial premiums over similarly graded non-FB specimens. The value of a 1998 dime, from pocket change to a few $100s. Now let's talk about money. What is a 1998 dime actually worth? In circulated condition, you can expect a 1998 dime to be worth between 15 and 35 cents. It's basically worth its face value or a small premium. Significantly for uncirculated examples, A typical uncirculated 1998 D dime in MS63 or MS65 condition might sell for around $3 to $80. But if you have a high-grade specimen, the price can go much higher. For example, an MS66 graded coin can sell for around $44, while an MS67 grade coin has sold for up to $158. The highest recorded sale for a 1998 D dime was an MS68 full torch example that sold for $1,400 back in 2013. So, a perfectly preserved 1998 D dime in the highest grades can be worth hundreds, or even over $1,000. The real goldmine: mint errors. While high-grade coins are valuable, the real excitement for collectors, and the potential for a massive payday, comes from mint errors. These are mistakes that occur during the minting process. The 1998 D dime has several known error varieties that are highly sought after. Another significant error is the double clip error. This occurs when the metal strip used to make planchets is fed incorrectly into the blanking press, resulting in a coin with one or more curved clips missing from its edge. A 1998 D Roosevelt dime with a double clip error was recently sold at auction. This specific coin, graded AU58 by Annex, was part of the rip pair collection of mint-clipped planchet errors. It attracted 34 bids and sold for a significant premium. The coin's weight was recorded as 2.11 grams, which is slightly less than the standard 2.27 grams, confirming the missing metal. Struck on a bonded group of coins. Perhaps one of the most spectacular mint errors is when coins become bonded together. This happens when a coin press malfunctions and a group of planchets are struck together, fusing them into a single, distorted mass. An example of this is a group of approximately 32 distorted dimes bonded together as a result of a malfunction of a coinage press. This is a dramatic and enticing error that collectors find fascinating. Other errors to look for. There are many other potential errors that could appear on a 1998 D dime. These include where the coin is struck off-center, leaving part of the design missing. Where the design is not fully impressed, appearing faint or mushy. Where the obverse and reverse designs are not properly aligned with each other. Lamination errors. This happens when the metal layers of the coin delaminate or split, creating flaking or peeling on the surface. It is crucial to be able to distinguish between a true mint error and post-mint damage. Many coins are damaged after they leave the mint, such as being spooned or caught in a dryer, which can deform the edge and expose the copper core. This is damage, not an error, and it does not add value. How to check your 1998 D dime. So, you think you might have a winner? Here is a step-by-step guide on what to look for. Identify the mint mark. Look at the obverse of the coin, near the date. You are looking for a D for Denver. If it has a P or an S, it is a different mint, though S mint proofs can also be valuable. Assess the condition. Examine the coin carefully under good lighting, preferably with a magnifying glass. Look for any signs of wear. If the coin appears sharp and has its original luster, it may be uncirculated. Check the torch on the reverse. Are the horizontal bands fully struck and distinct? If so, it might be a full bands coin. This is the most exciting part. Scan the coin for anything unusual. Look for curved or straight missing sections on the edge of the coin. Die doubling. Look for any areas where the design appears to be doubled or blurry. Struck through errors. Look for any indentations or imprints on the coin's surface that don't belong to the design. The golden rule of coin collecting. If you find a coin that you think might be valuable, there is one golden rule you must follow. Never, ever clean or polish the coin. Cleaning a coin with any abrasive or chemical will scratch the surface and remove the natural patina, destroying its numismatic value. Collectors and grading services can spot a cleaned coin instantly, and its value will plummet. If you think you have a valuable coin, the best thing to do is to leave it exactly as it is. Do not touch the surfaces with your bare fingers, as the oils from your skin can also damage the coin. Handle it only by its edges. Professional grading, the next step. If you believe you have a coin in exceptional condition or with a significant error, the next step is to have it professionally graded. There are two main grading services in the United States: the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC. These companies will authenticate your coin, assign it a grade, and encapsulate it in a tamper-proof holder. This process, called slabbing, not only protects the coin but also gives it a verified grade that the market trusts, making it much easier to sell for a fair price. The 1998 Roosevelt dime is a fascinating coin. While most are only worth a few cents, the potential for finding a valuable error or a pristine, high-grade example makes it a thrilling coin to search for in your pocket change. Today we are focusing on a specific coin that just might be hiding in your pocket change right now. We are talking about the 1986 Roosevelt dime. If this coin has a unique error or is in top condition, it could be worth a lot of money. But before we get into values and errors, let us start at the beginning. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946. It was first issued on January 30th of that year, which happened to be President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's birthday. The coin was released just months after Roosevelt's death in 1945 as a way to honor a president who had led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II. But there was another very personal reason Roosevelt was chosen for the dime. He had been a longtime supporter of the March of Dimes, a program that raised funds for research to find a cure for polio, a disease that Roosevelt himself had suffered from. So the dime was a logical and heartfelt choice for his memorial. The design of the Roosevelt dime was created by John R. Sinek, who was the chief engraver of the United States Mint at the time. On the obverse or head side, you see a left-facing profile of President Roosevelt. The reverse or tail side features a torch in the center, flanked by an olive branch on one side and an oak branch on the other. These symbols represent liberty, peace, and strength. If you look closely at the obverse, just below the tip of Roosevelt's bust, you will find Sinek's initials JS. That little detail actually sparked a persistent rumor that the initials stood for Joseph Stalin, the Soviet leader. Now, depending on the year, Roosevelt dimes were made of different metals. From 1946 through 1964, they were struck in 90% silver and 10% copper. But in 1965, the Coinage Act changed the composition to a copper-nickel-clad format. That means the coin has a pure copper core with outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, which gives it a silvery appearance. The 1986 Roosevelt dime is part of this clad series, so it contains no silver. Its specifications are as follows. It weighs 2.27 grams, has a diameter of 17.9 millimeters, and features a reeded edge. The 1986 was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and you can identify it by the P mint mark located on the obverse, near the date. The total mintage for the 1986 was a massive 682,649,693 coins. That is a huge number, and it means that finding one of these in circulation is not particularly difficult. But here is the catch. Just because a coin is common does not mean it cannot be valuable. Rarity is determined by things like specific mint errors or high grades. Let us talk about full bands first. On the reverse of the Roosevelt dime, the torch has horizontal bands near the top and bottom. When a coin is struck with enough force and detail that those bands show complete, full separation without any blending or weakness, it earns the full bands designation from PCGS or full torch from NGC. This is a coveted attribute because it means the coin was exceptionally well struck. Full bands Roosevelt dimes are scarce and command substantial premiums over similarly graded non-FB specimens. For the 1986P, any example displaying full bands characteristics is very difficult to find in any condition. And when you combine a high grade with full bands, the value jumps dramatically. For instance, a standard MS-67 might sell for around $100, but a 1986P MS-67 full bands can fetch over $600 at major coin auctions. In fact, auction records show that a 1986P MS-67 full band sold for nearly $2,000. That is a long way from 10 cents. Now, what about mint errors? The 1986 Roosevelt dime can exhibit several types of errors that collectors actively seek. One of the most common is the double die obverse error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is impressed multiple times with a slight misalignment, creating a crisp, raised doubling on letters, numbers, or design features. On the 1986 dime, you might see doubling on the word Liberty, on In God We Trust, or on the date digits. This is different from machine doubling, which is a worthless post-strike effect that shows a flat, shelf-like second image. True double die doubling shows both images at equal height and is highly sought after by error specialists. Minor double die examples in circulated condition start around $20 to $40. Clear, easily visible doubling can bring $75 to $200. And strong examples in mint state grades have sold for $300 to $600, with the most dramatic specimens potentially reaching over $1,000. Another error to watch for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank is not properly positioned between the dies during striking. The resulting coin shows a portion of blank metal while the design appears shifted to one side. Off-center 1986 dimes typically sell for $25 to $75, depending on the percentage of misalignment. Specimens with 50% or greater displacement and a fully visible date can command $150 to $400. A high-grade example with 75% or more off-center and a complete date could exceed $500 at auction. When you are checking for this error, look for incomplete design elements on either the obverse or reverse, and a smooth, slightly raised crescent of blank metal opposite the struck portion. There are also other errors that can appear, such as die cracks, planchet flaws, or even double denomination errors where a dime was struck again with cent dies. While these are rarer, they do exist and can add significant value. The key is to examine your coin carefully. Use a magnifying glass of at least 5 power to look for any anomalies. And remember, never clean or polish an old coin. Cleaning removes the natural surface patina and leaves microscopic scratches that permanently reduce the coin's value. It is always best to keep the coin protected in a holder until it can be professionally graded. Speaking of grading, professional grading is essential if you think you have a valuable coin. The two main grading services are PCGS and NGC. They evaluate your coin on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless coin. For the 1986P Roosevelt dime, the NGC census shows that most certified examples grade around MS-65, with only a handful reaching MS-67 or MS-68. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. But grading is not just about the number, it is also about the strike quality. That is why the full bands designation is so important. It tells collectors that this coin is not only in great condition but also has a superior strike. So how do you verify your coin? First, check the year. It must say 1986. Then look for the mint mark. On the 1986P, the P is located near the date on the obverse, just to the right of Roosevelt's neck. If you do not see a mint mark, it is not a 1986P. It could be a 1986D from Denver or a 1986S proof from San Francisco. But the 1986P is the one we are focusing on today. Next, examine the condition. Is it worn and dull, or does it have a sharp, lustrous appearance? Look at the torch on the reverse. Can you see full, complete lines on the bands? If so, you might have a full bands candidate. Then use a magnifying glass to check for doubling on the letters and numbers. Also look for any off-center shifts or other anomalies. If you think you have something special, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not try to remove any spots or tarnish. Simply place it in a protective coin holder. A non-PVC flip or a small cardboard holder with a mylar window works well. Then consider sending it to PCGS or NGC for professional grading. The grading fee is modest compared to the potential increase in value, and it gives your coin an official, trusted certification that makes it much easier to sell to collectors. Now, I want to address a quick correction from the earlier outline. The script mentioned a circulated coin being worth $788,000. That is not accurate for the 1986p Roosevelt dime. That figure likely refers to a different coin or a different context. For the 1986p, the real value in circulated condition is only 15 to 35 cents. The high values come from exceptional uncirculated examples with full bands or major errors, and even then we are talking about hundreds or a few $1,000s, not hundreds of thousands. So always double-check your sources and use reliable price guides like the NGC Price Guide, the Gray Sheet, or PCGS Coinfax. The 1986p Roosevelt dime is a common coin in circulation, but it can be valuable if it is in pristine condition, has full bands, or exhibits a significant mint error like a double die or off-center strike. We are going on a treasure hunt, and the treasure might be hiding in the most ordinary place, your pocket change. We are focusing on a specific coin that could be worth a lot more than its face value. Do you have any old coins in your collection? You might be carrying a valuable 1995 D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime right now and not even know it. If this coin has a unique error or is in top condition, it could be worth a lot of money. In this video, we will explore everything you need to know about the 1995 D Roosevelt dime. We will cover its history, its design, what makes it valuable, and the specific errors that can turn this everyday coin into a collector's dream. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to look for. If you enjoy learning about rare coins, please like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel for more numismatic content. Let us know in the comments if you have a Roosevelt dime. Before we dive into the specifics of the 1995 D, let's take a step back and appreciate the history of the Roosevelt dime. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946, shortly after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was a beloved figure, and the dime was chosen to honor his legacy, particularly his work with the March of Dimes to fight polio. The design was created by Chief U.S. Mint engraver John R. Sinek. His initials, J.S., can be found on the obverse, just below Roosevelt's neck. The obverse features a striking portrait of Roosevelt, while the reverse depicts a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. Depending on the year, the Roosevelt dime might be made of silver or a copper-nickel blend. From 1946 to 1964, the dimes were composed of 90% silver and 10% copper. However, in 1965, due to rising silver prices, the mint transitioned to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This means the coin is made of a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of a copper-nickel alloy. The 1995 D Roosevelt dime falls into this latter category. The 1995 D has a massive mintage of 1,274,890,000 coins. That's over 1.2 billion coins. Because of this high number, the coin is considered very common in circulated condition. In fact, the 1995 D is ranked 351st in the Roosevelt dime series for rarity, with a rarity score of just 1.5 out of 10. The coin weighs 2.27 grams and has a diameter of 17.9 millimeters. Its edge is reeded, meaning it has those small grooves along the side. It's made of a copper-nickel clad composition, which is 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. So, with over 1 billion coins produced, what is the 1995D Roosevelt dime worth? The answer, as with most collectibles, depends entirely on its condition. In circulated condition, the coin is worth very little. According to the NGC price guide, a 1995D Roosevelt dime in circulated condition is worth between 15 cents and 35 cents. That's just a little more than its face value of 10 cents. However, the story changes dramatically when we talk about coins in pristine, uncirculated condition. A 1995D in top condition can sell for hundreds of dollars. On the open market, 1995D dimes in pristine, uncirculated condition sell for as much as $260. But how do we determine condition? This is where coin grading comes in. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin. For the 1995D, a coin graded MS65, mint state 65, is worth around $4, while an MS67 can fetch around $39. The highest grade recorded for a 1995D is MS68, and at this elite level, the value skyrockets. An MS68 1995D Roosevelt dime sold at auction for $400. In fact, Great Collections has sold 20 of the 1995D Roosevelt dime in the past 16 years, with prices ranging from $7 to $366, in grades 58 to 68. Rarity is determined by things like specific mint errors or high grades. In circulated condition, the coin might just be worth its face value, but a pristine, uncirculated version can sell for thousands of dollars at auction. While a high-grade 1995D can be valuable, the real money lies in mint errors. These are coins that left the mint with a mistake, making them unique and highly sought after by collectors. The 1995 dime error list with pictures reveals several minting mistakes that can turn an ordinary 10-cent coin into a treasure worth $30 to over $1,000. As we mentioned, Roosevelt dimes are made with a copper core sandwiched between outer layers of copper nickel. A missing clad layer error occurs when the bonding process fails, and one or both of the outer layers are missing. This exposes the pure copper core, making the coin appear copper-colored instead of silver-gray. Value: a 1995 dime missing its clad layer on one side typically sells for $15 to $30 in circulated condition. Uncirculated examples can reach $40 to $75. Coins missing the clad layer on both sides are extremely rare and can command $100 to $200 or more. Certified examples in MS63 to MS65 can sell for $65 to $350. Warning: acid-dipped fake, missing clad coins are common. Always verify the weight and surface texture before buying or celebrating. Off-center strikes happen when the coin blank isn't properly aligned with the striking dies during minting. The metal disc shifts, causing the design to appear off-center with a blank crescent area visible on one side. Look for a blank, curved area along one edge where the die didn't touch the planchet. The design and lettering will be cut off abruptly. You should also see a double rim effect at the top or bottom. The key factor for value is that the date, 1995, remains readable. Value: off-center strike 1995 dimes typically sell for $30 to $75. More dramatic examples showing 30% to 50% off-center can bring $50 to $100 or more. Certified examples can sell for $75 to $150. This is a variety where the design elements on the obverse appear doubled. The most notable is the FS101 doubled die obverse, which shows split serifs on the words trust and liberty. This requires a magnifying glass. Look closely at the letters in Liberty and Trust. If you see clear, separate lines or split serifs, the little feet on the letters, you might have a double die. Value. This error can sell for $40 to $100 or more if certified with the variety on the label. This is one of the rarest and most valuable errors. It occurs when a blank meant for another denomination is accidentally fed into the press for dimes. For example, a dime could be struck on a planchet meant for a cent. How to identify? The coin will have an anomalous weight and diameter. For instance, a dime struck on a cent planchet would be smaller and lighter than a standard dime. Value. Wrong planchet errors can sell for $500 to $5,000 or more. This is a specific type of clip error where the coin has two curved clips. An example of a 1995D Roosevelt dime with a double curved clip, weighing 2.06 grams and graded AU58, was sold at auction. To verify your coin, check the year and look for a mint mark near the Roosevelt image. For a 1995D, the mint mark should be a D above the date on the obverse. If you think you have a valuable error or a coin in exceptional condition, there are a few crucial steps to take. First, never clean or polish an old coin, as this significantly reduces its value. Cleaning can leave microscopic scratches that are easily detectable under magnification and will lower the grade. It is best to keep it protected in a holder until it can be professionally graded. You can use a simple 2x2 cardboard flip or a plastic coin capsule to prevent damage. However, grading submission costs often exceed $75 per coin. It is recommended to only submit errors with an estimated market value of $150 or more to justify the expense. The 1995D Roosevelt dime is a fascinating example of how a common coin can become a valuable treasure. While most of the 1.2 billion coins produced are only worth their face value, a small fraction left the mint with unique errors or in pristine condition, making them highly desirable to collectors. The 1995D is a modern coin, but its value lies in its condition and the specific errors it may possess. Whether it's a missing clad layer, an off-center strike, or a double die, these errors can turn a 10-cent coin into a $100 or even $1,000 prize. Today, we are going to take a deep dive into a coin that you might just have sitting in your pocket change or tucked away in an old jar somewhere. We are talking about the 1996D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime. Now, you might be asking yourself, why this specific coin? Well, as we are going to discover, while most of these dimes are only worth their face value, there are certain variations, specific errors, and top-tier conditions that can make this otherwise common coin surprisingly valuable. So, before you spend that dime on a gumball, you might want to take a closer look. To truly understand the 1996D Roosevelt dime, we first have to understand the series it belongs to. The Roosevelt dime is a classic American coin with a rich history. It was first introduced in 1946, shortly after the passing of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The dime was chosen as a tribute to Roosevelt because of his deep association with the March of Dimes, an organization he helped found to combat polio, a disease that had personally affected him. The design was created by Chief Engraver John R. Sinek, and it has remained largely unchanged for over 75 years, a testament to its timeless and respectful portrayal of one of America's most beloved presidents. Now, here is a crucial piece of information for any collector. The composition of the Roosevelt dime changed over the years. From 1946 to 1964, these dimes were struck in 90% silver. This is why older dimes have a distinct ring to them and a different look. However, in 1965, due to rising silver prices, the U.S. Mint switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This means that a 1996 dime, like the one we are focusing on today, is made of a copper core with outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. It weighs in at 2.27 grams and has a diameter of 17.9 millimeters. So, If you are hoping to find a silver dime from 1996, you won't, but understanding this composition is key to identifying and valuing your coin. Now, let's get specific about the 1996 D. The D mint mark stands for Denver, one of the primary mints that produced this coin for circulation. The other main mint was Philadelphia, which produced the 1996 P. The Denver Mint struck a massive number of these dimes. In fact, the mintage for the 1996 D was a staggering 1,400,300,000 pieces. To put that in perspective, that's over 1.4 billion coins. This immense production number is the primary reason why the 1996 D Roosevelt dime is considered a common coin. You are much more likely to find one of these in your change than a rare, low mintage issue. For comparison, the Philadelphia Mint struck even more, with a mintage of over 1.4 billion as well. Because of these astronomical numbers, the base value of a circulated 1996 D dime is very low. Let's talk about mint errors. This is where a seemingly ordinary coin can become extraordinary. A mint error is any mistake that occurs during the striking process at the mint. For the 1996 D Roosevelt dime, several types of errors have been identified. One of the most notable is the double die error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin has a slight duplication in its design, which then transfers to the coin. For the 1996 D, double die errors have been observed on the obverse, particularly in the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust. These doubled letters can be visible to the naked eye or under magnification, and they make the coin highly collectible. Another type of error is a strike-through error, where debris or a foreign object came between the die and the planchet during striking, leaving an indentation or anomaly on the coin surface. There are also examples of coins with double clips, where the planchet itself was improperly cut, resulting in a coin with a missing curved section. Even more dramatic are errors like a double strike or a flip-over strike, where the coin was struck more than once, sometimes with the die rotated. A unique 1996 P dime was even found to be double struck on a 1995 dated dime. These error coins are rare and can command substantial premiums from collectors who specialize in mint mistakes. Now, the second major factor that can dramatically increase the value of a 1996 D dime is its grade, particularly in relation to a specific detail known as full bands. When a coin is graded, it is assessed on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless coin. For the 1996 D, most uncirculated examples are common up to about MS67, which is a very high grade. However, what truly sets a valuable 1996 D apart is the full bands or FB designation. On the reverse of the Roosevelt dime, there is a torch in the center. This torch has horizontal bands wrapped around it. For a coin to receive the full bands designation, these horizontal lines must be complete and fully separated, showing no weakness in the strike. This is incredibly difficult to achieve on the 1996 D because the dies were often weakly struck, making the bands mushy or incomplete. As a result, 1996 D dimes with full bands are scarce in all grades. This scarcity creates a significant premium. A 1996 D dime in MS67 with full bands is far more valuable than one without it, and a coin in MS68 or MS69 with full bands is exceptionally rare. The PCGS population for a 1996 D in MS67 FB is low, with only a small number of coins achieving this distinction. These are the coins that can sell for hundreds of dollars at auction, a massive jump from the common circulated examples. So, you found a 1996 D dime and you want to check if it's the valuable error or high-grade variety. What should you do? First, do not clean or polish the coin. This is the #1 rule of coin collecting. Cleaning a coin leaves microscopic scratches that permanently damage the surface and destroy its numismatic value. A cleaned coin is worth significantly less than an uncleaned one in the same condition. Second, you need to examine the coin carefully. Look at the date to confirm it is 1996. Then, look for the mint mark. The D mint mark is located on the obverse, to the right of Franklin Roosevelt's neck. It is small, so you may need a magnifying glass to see it clearly. Next, you need to assess the coin's condition. Is it worn and dull, or does it have a bright, reflective luster? Look at the high points of the design, like Roosevelt's hair and the torch on the reverse. If the details are sharp and there are no major scratches or marks, it may be an uncirculated coin. Finally, and most importantly, look at the bands on the torch. Can you see all the horizontal lines clearly and completely? If so, you might have a full bands coin, which is where the real value lies. If you believe you have a valuable coin, the next step is to get it professionally graded. The two main grading services are the Numismatic Guarantee Company, or NGC, and the Professional Coin Grading Service, or PCGS. These companies are the gold standard in the industry. They will authenticate your coin, determine its exact grade on the 1 to 70 scale, and encapsulate it in a protective holder, which also serves to preserve its condition. Having your coin graded by a reputable service is essential if you plan to sell it, as it gives buyers confidence in the coin's authenticity and condition. A coin in a PCGS or NGC holder is much easier to sell and will typically command a higher price than an ungraded coin. The cost of grading is an investment, but for a potentially valuable coin, it is almost always worth it. For the advanced collector, the 1996D offers a specific challenge: finding one with full bands. It is a test of patience and a keen eye, because the dies were often weakly struck. Finding a 1996D with complete, fully separated bands is a real achievement. This is what makes the hobby so engaging. It is not just about the metal value or the face value. It is about the thrill of the hunt and the satisfaction of finding a coin that stands out from the millions of others. It is about understanding the nuances of minting processes and the subtle differences that can turn a 10-cent coin into a prized collectible. Now, as we always say, knowledge is power. The more you know about what to look for, the better equipped you are to find a valuable coin. So, before you dismiss a 1996D dime as just another common coin, take a moment to really look at it. Check for those doubled letters on the obverse. Examine the torch on the reverse with a magnifying glass. See if those bands are complete. You might be surprised by what you find. And remember, condition is everything. A coin that has been well preserved is always going to be worth more than one that has been heavily circulated. Let's also talk about the importance of protecting your coins. If you find a coin that you think might be valuable, the worst thing you can do is to carry it around in your pocket or toss it in a jar with other coins. This will cause scratches, and where that will lower its grade and its value. Instead, place it in a protective holder, like a 2x2 cardboard flip or a plastic capsule. This will keep it safe from damage until you can get it professionally graded. Even if you don't plan to sell it, preserving it in good condition ensures that its value, both historical and monetary, is maintained for years to come. We hope this video has been informative and has given you a new appreciation for the coins in your pocket. The world of numismatics is full of fascinating stories and hidden treasures, and we are here to help you discover them. Whether you are a seasoned collector or just starting out, there is always something new to learn. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1996D Roosevelt dime, please give this video a like. It really helps the channel and lets us know you are interested in this type of content. Share this video with your friends and family, especially those who might have a jar of old coins sitting around. You never know what they might find. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We have a lot more numismatic content planned, and we would love to have you along for the journey. Now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever found a 1996D Roosevelt dime in your pocket change? Did you check it for errors or full bands? Let us know in the comments below. Share your stories, your finds, and your questions. We read every comment and we love engaging with our community of coin enthusiasts. Your insights and experiences are what make this community so great. Today we are focusing on a specific Roosevelt dime. If this coin has a unique error or is in top condition, it could be worth a lot of money. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946. Depending on the year, it might be made of silver or a copper-nickel blend. However, only certain variations become rare and highly sought after by collectors. Rarity is determined by things like specific mint errors or high grades. In circulated condition, the coin might just be worth its face value, but a pristine, uncirculated version can sell for thousands of dollars at auction. To verify your coin, check the year and look for a mint mark near the Roosevelt image. Never clean or polish an old coin, as this significantly reduces its value. It is best to keep it protected in a holder until it can be professionally graded. If you enjoy learning about rare coins, please like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel for more numismatic content. Let us know in the comments if you have a Roosevelt dime. To truly understand the 1994 p-dime, we need to go back to where it all began. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, shortly after the conclusion of World War II and less than a year after the death of the 32nd President, Franklin D. Roosevelt. This was a fitting tribute to a man who had fought polio and helped establish the March of Dimes organization. The dime replaced the beloved Mercury dime, also known as the Winged Liberty head dime, and it marked a broader trend in U.S. coinage, moving away from allegorical figures of liberty and toward placing actual historical figures on our coins. The obverse, or head side, features a left-facing portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt. The word liberty arcs along the upper left rim, while the national motto "In God We Trust" is positioned in the lower left area. You will also find the designer's initials JS for John R. Cynic, who created this design. The reverse, or tail side, shows a central torch flanked by an olive branch on the left and an oak branch on the right. The inscriptions include United States of America around the top, E pluribus unum behind the torch, and one dime beneath. The torch signifies liberty, the olive branch stands for peace, and the oak branch represents strength. Now let us zoom in on the star of today's show, the 1994 P. Roosevelt dime. The P Mint mark tells us this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. It is a business strike, meaning it was produced for general circulation, not as a special proof or collector piece. The mintage for the 1994 p-dime was a staggering 1,189,000,000 pieces. That is over 1.18 billion coins. With that kind of production, you might think this coin is nothing special, and in most cases you would be right. But as we will see, a few exceptional examples stand out from the crowd. The coin itself weighs 2.27 grams and measures 17.9 millimeters in diameter. It has a reeded edge with 118 reeds. The composition is copper-nickel clad copper, which is the standard for all circulating dimes since 1965. The obverse was designed by John R. Cynic, and his initials JS appear on the coin. The date 1994 is positioned to the right of Roosevelt's neck, and the mint mark P appears just below the bust, between the date and the designer's initials. In circulated condition, a 1994 p-dime is worth between 15 and 35 cents. That is a small premium over its 10-cent face value, but nothing that will make you rich. However, things get more interesting when we look at uncirculated examples. According to the NGC price guide, a pristine uncirculated 1994 p-dime can sell for as much as $160. Other sources show that high-grade specimens have sold at auction for prices ranging from $120 to $129. And if you have a coin graded MS 67 or higher, the value can climb even further. To understand why some 1994 p-dimes are worth more than others, you need to know a little about coin grading. Grading is the process of evaluating a coin's condition on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin in circulated condition might grade anywhere from poor 1 to about uncirculated 50. An uncirculated coin starts at mint state 60 and can go all the way up to mint state 70, which is a perfect coin with no visible flaws under magnification. For the 1994 p-dime, the majority of examples submitted for grading fall into the mint state range. The NGC census shows that out of 186 graded examples, the average grade is 66, and the highest grade recorded is 69. That tells us that this coin can be found in very high condition, but truly perfect examples are still rare. One of the most important factors for Roosevelt dime collectors is something called full bands, sometimes abbreviated as FB. This designation is awarded to coins that show complete, fully separated horizontal lines on the bands that wrap around the torch on the reverse. It also requires that the vertical lines of the torch be clearly defined. Achieving full bands is difficult because the strike needs to be exceptionally strong. Many Roosevelt dimes, especially those struck after 1965, do not have full detail on the torch bands. As a result, full bands examples are scarce and command substantial premiums over similarly graded non-FB specimens. If you have a 1994 p-dime that appears to have sharp, complete torch bands, it could be worth significantly more than a regular example of the same grade. One category is die errors. These happen when the die used to strike the coin is damaged or incorrectly made. For example, a double die obverse or double die reverse occurs when the die has a slight misalignment during the hubbing process, creating a doubling effect on the design. While double die varieties are known for other years of the Roosevelt dime, they are not common for 1994. Another type of error is the off-center strike. This happens when the planchet or blank coin is not properly aligned with the dies. The result is a coin where the design is shifted to one side, sometimes leaving a blank area. Off-center strikes can be quite dramatic and are highly collectible. Strike-through errors occur when a foreign object gets between the die and the planchet. The object might be a piece of metal, a bit of grease, or even a cloth fiber. The coin will show an indentation or missing detail where the object blocked the strike. These errors are often unique and can add value to the coin. It is important to note that after 1989, the U.S. Mint stopped hand-punching mint marks into the dies. That means you are unlikely to find a 1994 p-dime with a missing or doubled mint mark caused by manual punching. However, other types of errors, such as die cracks, cuds, and chips, can still occur. A die crack appears as a raised line on the coin where the die has fractured. A cud is a raised blob of metal on the rim caused by a piece of the die breaking off. These are all things that error collectors look for. If you think you have found an error coin, the best thing to do is have it authenticated and graded by a professional service like NGC or PCGS. They can confirm whether the anomaly is a genuine mint error or simply post-mint damage. Remember, not every oddity is an error, and damage from circulation can sometimes mimic the look of a real mint mistake. There is also a 1994 D-dime, struck at the Denver Mint. That coin had a mintage of over 1.3 billion, making it even more common than the Philadelphia version. Like the 1994P, the 1994D is generally worth face value in circulated condition, but high-grade mint state examples can sell for hundreds of dollars. The key takeaway is that the 1994P, 1994D, and 1994S are all part of the same series, but they have different mintages, compositions, and market values. If you have a 1994P Roosevelt dime that you think might be valuable, proper handling is critical. The first rule is never clean or polish your coin. Cleaning removes the natural surface patina and can leave microscopic scratches that drastically reduce the coin's value. Even a gentle wipe with a cloth can cause damage. If your coin is dirty, leave it alone. Professional graders have ways of conserving coins without harming them, but that is a job for experts. The second rule is to store your coin properly. The best way is to place it in a protective holder, such as a mylar flip or a hard plastic capsule. These holders prevent contact with air, moisture, and fingerprints. Avoid vinyl holders, as they can release chemicals that damage the coin over time. Never store coins in cardboard, paper, or ordinary envelopes, as these materials can be abrasive or acidic. When you handle your coin, always hold it by the edges. Do not touch the obverse or reverse surfaces, as the oils from your skin can leave permanent marks. If you must pick up the coin, use cotton gloves. And always examine your coin under good lighting, but never direct sunlight, which can cause glare and make it hard to see fine details. The key is to look closely at your coins. Check the date, check the mint mark, and examine the detail on the torch bands. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to spot any unusual features. And if you find something that looks promising, do not clean it. Protect it in a holder and consider sending it to a professional grading service. The Roosevelt dime series is one of the most accessible areas of coin collecting. It does not have the expensive key dates of some older series, but it does offer plenty of challenges for advanced collectors, especially when it comes to finding full bands examples and era varieties. Whether you are a seasoned numismatist or just someone who enjoys checking their pocket change, the 1994 P-dime is a great coin to know about. Today we are focusing on a specific Roosevelt dime. If this coin has a unique error or is in top condition, it could be worth a lot of money. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946. Depending on the year, it might be made of silver or a copper-nickel blend. However, only certain variations become rare and highly sought after by collectors. Rarity is determined by things like specific mint errors or high grades. In circulated condition, the coin might just be worth its face value or slightly more, but a pristine uncirculated version can sell for thousands of dollars at auction. To verify your coin, check the year and look for a mint mark near the Roosevelt image. Never clean or polish an old coin, as this significantly reduces its value. It is best to keep it protected in a holder until it can be professionally graded. If you enjoy learning about rare coins, please like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel for more numismatic content. Let us know in the comments if you have a Roosevelt dime. Welcome back to another deep dive into the fascinating world of numismatics, coin collecting, and the hidden treasures that might be resting right inside your pocket or sitting in a forgotten jar on your dresser. Today, we are talking about a true modern classic of American coinage, the Roosevelt dime, specifically examining the intriguing details surrounding issues like the 1988 P mint mark, variety, and what makes certain modern dimes command jaw-dropping prices when they cross the auction block. Now, when most people think of valuable coins, they immediately picture ancient gold coins, heavy silver dollars from the Wild West, or rare colonial copper pieces minted centuries ago. But the truth is, modern coinage from the 20th century holds an incredible array of hidden surprises. For the observant hunter, the Roosevelt dime series has been a staple of United States commerce for nearly 8 decades, and while billions have been struck since its inception in 1946, a handful of specific dates, mint marks, errors, and high-grade specimens have captured the intense focus of serious coin collectors everywhere. Let us take a step back in time to understand the origins of this iconic coin. Before the Roosevelt dime was introduced, the Mercury dime, designed by Adolph Weinman, was the circulating 10-cent piece of the United States, minted from 1916 through 1945. However, following the sudden passing of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1945, the United States Mint moved swiftly to honor the late president, who had been a polio survivor and the founder of the March of Dimes. Designer John R. Sinek was chosen to create the new portrait of Roosevelt, which was placed on the obverse, while the reverse featured a torch symbolizing liberty, an olive branch representing peace, and an oak branch representing strength and independence. The new dime made its official debut on January 31st, 1946, which would have been Roosevelt's 64th birthday when the Roosevelt dime first entered circulation. It was composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, a traditional composition that American dimes had shared for generations. This silver composition continued all the way through 1964, however, due to a nationwide shortage of silver and the rising price of the precious metal. The Coinage Act of 1965 changed American coinage forever. Starting in 1965, dimes were minted using a clad composition consisting of an outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This transition is one of the most fundamental things every coin collector must know, because finding a silver Roosevelt dime dated 1964 or earlier immediately establishes its baseline value based on its precious metal content alone. But what happens when we move past the silver era into the clad era of the late 20th century? This is where things get really interesting for modern coin roll hunters and collectors examining pieces from years like 1988. When you pick up a dime from 1988 minted at the Philadelphia Mint designated by the P Mint mark, you are holding a coin produced during a time of massive mint output. Hundreds of millions of these coins were churned out to keep up with the demands of a growing economy. Consequently, finding a standard 1988 P Roosevelt dime in circulated condition in your daily change is quite common, and on its own it is generally worth just its face value of 10 cents. But numismatics is rarely just about ordinary circulation finds. It is about the anomalies, the extremes of condition, and the rare manufacturing errors that slip past the quality control inspectors at the mint to end up in the hands of everyday people. When collectors talk about a coin being worth a lot of money, they are usually referring to two major factors: condition and errors. Let us talk about condition first. Coins are graded on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a flawless perfect specimen. For a modern clad coin like a 1988 P Roosevelt dime to be worth significant money, it cannot have circulated in commerce. A circulated coin gets scuffed, scratched, and worn down, losing its original mint luster and fine details. Pristine uncirculated coins, on the other hand, are preserved in mint state condition, often coming directly from original mint sets or bank rolls wrapped decades ago and stored away carefully. When a modern coin is graded by a third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC and receives a top-tier grade such as Mint State 67 or Mint State 68, it enters an entirely different financial category because so few modern clad coins survive in absolute pristine perfection. Collectors are willing to pay substantial sums to own the finest known examples for their registry sets. Beyond condition, we have the fascinating world of mint errors. The minting process involves massive hydraulic presses striking blank metal planchets with immense force at incredible speeds. With billions of coins being produced annually, mistakes are bound to happen, and while most error pieces are caught and destroyed by automated machinery or vigilant inspectors, some manage to escape into circulation. Some of the most sought-after errors on Roosevelt dimes include double die varieties, where the die strikes the coin more than once, shifting slightly and creating a doubled appearance on the lettering, or date repunched mint marks, which were common before mint marks began being punched directly into the master hubs, are also major collector favorites. Other dramatic errors include off-center strikes, where the planchet was not properly aligned in the collar, resulting in part of the design missing. Blank planchet errors, clipped planchets, and broad strikes. Understanding how to spot these errors requires patience, a good magnifying glass, and a solid understanding of the minting process itself. Let us look closer at how to properly examine your coins without accidentally damaging them. One of the biggest mistakes novice collectors make is attempting to clean or polish old or interesting coins. To a beginner, a dirty or tarnished coin looks unappealing, and the natural instinct is to grab a cloth, metal polish, or soap and water to make it shine bright. Again, however, in the numismatic community, cleaning a coin is considered a major cardinal sin. Professional collectors and coin dealers can instantly spot microscopic hairline scratches and surface alterations caused by cleaning, and these alterations completely destroy the numismatic premium of a rare coin. If you find an old or unusual coin, leave it exactly as it is. Natural toning and original mint surfaces, even with decades of accumulated dust or dullness, are always preferred over a polished surface. The best way to protect your coins is to handle them only by their edges, wearing cotton gloves if you have them, and placing them inside protective coin flips or coin holders until you can get a professional opinion. If you are truly serious about learning the value of your collection, investing in a reputable pricing guide or utilizing online auction archives can give you a realistic picture of what buyers are actually paying for specific dates and grades. Remember that auction prices Reflect what someone is willing to pay at a given moment, and values can fluctuate based on market demand, collector interest, and overall economic conditions. As we continue our exploration of numismatics, we are reminded that history is literally in the palm of our hands. Every time you receive change from a store or sort through a jar of old coins, you are engaging in a treasure hunt that connects you to decades of economic history, manufacturing, evolution, and human stories. Whether you are building a complete date and mint marked set of Roosevelt dimes, searching for high-grade mint state examples, or hunting for that elusive one-of-a-kind mint error, the journey of discovery is half the fun. We want to hear from you. Take a moment to look through your collection or check your pockets tonight. Do you have any Roosevelt dimes from 1988 or earlier? What are some of the most interesting coin finds you have ever stumbled upon? Let us know your stories in the comments section below. Engaging with fellow collectors, sharing your discoveries, and learning from the experiences of others is one of the best parts of this incredible hobby.